TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, Iran vows to help Syria reconquer Israel's northern Golan Heights region. Islamist terrorism is plaguing France once again, with a deadly attack claiming the lives of 3 Christian believers at a church in the city of Nice. Germany warns Muslim leaders not to play into the hands of radical Islamists. Iran vows to help Syria reconquer Israel's northern Golan Heights region. In a meeting between Syria's ambassador to Iran, Adnan Mahmoud, and Tehran's Chief Justice, Ibrahim Raisi, the latter pledged to ratchet up his country's support for active resistance, as he put it, while further insisting that Israel is perishable. The top Iranian justice further noted, according to the regime-controlled Tasnim news agency, that Damascus and Tehran must bolster their cooperation to accelerate the demise of Israel, which he referred to as the fake Zionist regime. The chief Iranian justice made these remarks at a time when the Islamic Republic held an international conference in Tehran that focused on the perceived decline of the United States as the world's superpower and the opportunities that may arise for the Islamic Republic as a result. Addressing the conference, the regime's Expediency Council chief Mohsen Razei, who formerly served as the commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, noted, quote, "The United States has hindered the progress of Iran for many years before the revolution and for more than 40 years after the revolution." Therefore, Razai contended that now that the United States is on the decline, which he attributed to a weakening of the U.S. economy, the Islamic Republic must seize the opportunity by developing at America's expense. Separately, the former IRGC chief asserted that the recent plan of the United States and Israel to bring the Arabs and Israel together against Iran will also fail. It is important to note, however, that despite the Iranian assessments, one should regard these remarks as wishful thinking. In contrast to Iran's annual military spending, which stands between 18 to 22 billion US dollars a year, the United States spends 732 billion US dollars last year alone, seconded by China, which spent 261 billion US dollars on its military establishment. It is further interesting to know that Iran's expenditure is similar to Israel's annual spending on its defense establishment. However, the Islamic Republic's aggressive foreign policy in multiple arenas throughout the Middle East, primarily by financially supporting its numerous proxies, significantly limits its capacity to bolster its capabilities. In contrast, Jerusalem is investing significantly in its technological prowess, providing its armed forces with a clear qualitative edge on its regional adversaries. Citing this fact in an evident warning to Iran's most powerful proxy in Lebanon, Hezbollah, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu voiced praise for the Israeli military's vast offensive improvements.
גם בתקופת הקורונה, האויבים שלנו לא קופאים על השמרים, וגם אנחנו לא. אני מתרשם מהתרגיל הזה משיפור עצום ביכולות ההתקפיות של צה"ל, וכדאי שחיזבאללה ומדינת לבנון ייקחו את זה בחשבון. מי שיתקוף אותנו יפגוש עוצמת אש ואגרוף פלדה שישמיד כל אויב.
Netanyahu's remarks were made during a tour of the IDF's military exercise along Israel's northern front with Lebanon and Syria, titled Lethal Arrow. We have to correct our previous report from last night, in which we noted that the exercise concluded yesterday. However, the IDF's multi-front military exercise evidently concluded earlier today. Turning now to France, where Islamist terrorism is plaguing the nation, with a deadly attack reported in the city of Nice. An abhorrent Islamist armed with a knife entered a church this morning, and while shouting Allahu Akbar, brutally murdered 3 Christian believers, including by beheading 1 woman, before police arrived at the scene and neutralized the attacker.
Je dois dire que Nice Comme la France, et peut-être plus que d'autres lieux de France, aujourd'hui est en train de payer un tribut beaucoup trop lourd en étant une fois de plus victime de l'islamo-fascisme. Il ne fait aucun doute que l'auteur de ces actes, qui n'a cessé de répéter en boucle devant nous Allahu Akbar alors qu'il était médicalisé sur place, quel était le sens de son geste, sa détermination. Et au moment où parmi ces trois victimes figure sans doute le gardien de l'Église, c'est dire tout le sens que tout cela peut prendre et combien l'émotion est encore plus forte chez nous.
In response to the heinous attack, French Prime Minister Jean Castex informed the National Assembly in Paris that anti-terrorism units have been ordered to raise the level of alert to the highest attack emergency throughout the country.
La réponse du gouvernement sera ferme, implacable et immédiate. J'ai d'ores et déjà décidé de porter le plan Vigipirate au niveau urgence attentat sur l'ensemble du territoire national.
It is important to explain that the attack followed a similar attack earlier this month in which an Islamist brutally murdered a French history teacher for using an image of the Muslim prophet Muhammad in a classroom. The brutal attack led President Emmanuel Macron to instruct immediate reform in a battle to root out Islamism from France. The measure infuriated Muslim countries around the world, most notably Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who seized the opportunity to voice a series of insults earlier this week at his French counterpart, including a call on his country's citizens to boycott French goods.
Şimdi ben burada milletime sesleniyorum. Nasıl ki Fransa'da Türk markalı mal satın alınmayın diyorsa ben de şimdi buradan milletime sesleniyorum. Sakın Fransız markalara asla iltifat etmeyin. Bunları satın almayın.
The Turkish leader's call to boycott France evidently caught the French leadership somewhat by surprise.
Je pense que ça devrait choquer chacun d'entre nous de considérer que des puissances étrangères pensent que les musulmans de France leur appartiennent. De quel droit des puissances étrangères se mêlent de nos affaires intérieures? Vous savez,
de quelle puissance étrangère parlez-vous, Gérald Darmanin?
Monsieur Erdogan, chacun a été extrêmement choqué de ses propos, mais il y en a eu d'autres.
La Turquie.
Je regarde le Pakistan, par exemple, qui a lancé évidemment des menaces à peine voilées.
Despite efforts by the Paris government to try and convince its Muslim citizens that it makes extensive efforts to distinguish between them and Islamist elements, Muslim leaders from around the world continue to fuel anti-Christian and Western propaganda, which is seemingly triggering a response by their dissidents, the Muslim communities living throughout Europe. In response, German Foreign Minister Heiko Maas called for a unified European response and referred to the Islamic rhetoric voiced vis-à-vis Europe's battle against Islamism unacceptable.
Es gibt Millionen rechtschaffende Bürgerinnen und Bürger in Deutschland muslimischen Glaubens. Das ist die überwältigende Mehrheit dieser Menschen, nicht nur in Deutschland, sondern in Europa. Aber wer diesen Kampf durcheinander wirft, dass man sich nämlich gegen gewaltbereite Islamisten und Mörder auch zur Wehr setzen muss, wer diese realen Probleme, denen wir uns bedauerlicherweise gegenübersehen, einfach gleichsetzt mit Rassismus und Islamophobie, der handelt nichts anderes als unverantwortlich und der spielt damit in die Hände derer, die unsere Gesellschaft spalten wollen. Das werden wir nicht akzeptieren.
Thank you for watching us. You can also watch TV7 Israel News alongside our other productions at www.tv7israelnews.com, where you can find a variety of reports on crucial topics that impact the peace of Jerusalem, both directly and indirectly. Furthermore, as part of TV7 Israel's prayer initiative, I would like to encourage you today to join myself and the team here in Jerusalem to lift up France in prayer for its salvation and peace, including for our brethren who are subject to repeated Islamist attacks, in addition to our ongoing prayers, of course, for the peace of Jerusalem, the salvation of Israel, and for all those who are impacted by the corona contagion and its numerous ramifications worldwide. Separately, I would like to thank once again all of you who partner with TV7 Israel, both by means of finance and prayer. Your dedicated support encourages us deeply and, in fact, provides us both the physical and spiritual tools to function. I'm Jonathan Hassan, wishing you an Erev Tov U'Mevorach, and we will see you again tomorrow at the same time.